What's happening? How's everybody doing?
What's up?
We're good. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We made it through another week, haven't
We do.
We did. We're the Lone Rangers today.
we? Yeah. Well, we got one sick. We've got one that's spouse had surgery. We got one that's on assignment, and the other one, he'll be driving his truck, and we'll be looking at him partly in the dark. So,
As long as he's not with his cocktail while he's driving, he's all fine.
drink of choice tonight. Who's going to the truck? What are we having? What are we having?
Oh, the Mick Ultra.
Oh, that's easy.
You got the little cheap red wine. It's not box
Exactly.
wine. It comes in a bottle, and I need a corkscrew, so it's all right.
Well, with the change of command coming on, I had to go talk to my buddies. So I went and talked to Jim, Jack, and Mr. Coke. So in my
Jose.
in my souvenir Bolero cup that we got when we were in Wisconsin with you, brother. You remember?
Probably cost you $45 for that.
Yeah, it was $45 for the cup and $26 for the drink. I think it was.
It was definitely no pinheads because that place is cool.
No, it wasn't the pinheads.
Pinheads.
Oh, I love
Pinheads is
pinheads.
awesome.
What are you talking about?
That place was rocking.
I don't know why we can't have an event there. You know what I'm saying?
The owner won't do them.
Oh,
Well,
really?
he needs to.
Not the big events. No, they wouldn't even do Junior Gold.
Mm.
Wow. Well, he needs to. You
What
know
about
I'm
a
saying?
dog tags bowling event?
Yes, I'm sure we can
Probably
get
not.
that one.
Okay.
What?
Mm-mm. The only tournaments they really do is Sunday Night Sweepers,
Wow.
and they do the regional once a year, and that's it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Their open play is just crazy.
It looked like that. That was really cool. That was,
It brings the money in, I'm sure, right?
It does.
yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So Deuce, you good? Michelle's good. Excuse me, PBA wife is good. So everybody was excited about the show. We'll talk about that for just a second. Dave Lamont's getting ready. So everybody, what did everybody think about the show?
I'm so happy for Marshall. It was what for us. It was one of those. So me and the kids were at home watching it. So it was another. EJ's on the show. AJ's on the show. Marshall's on the show. So these are like our best friends, and we're
Right.
cheering for everybody. But I know for Marshall, that was a huge weight lifted off of him. It's been 7 years since he won, and so that was massive. I was really happy for him.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. His mom was in the crowd all week.
Yeah.
Cassie was there the whole week, so that was awesome to have them both there. I was in the crowd as well, so I was winning either way, so it was good to go. Mark's a good player too, and it was so cool to see two roommates. I mean, these guys bowled against each other in college their whole time. They tour all the time. They're
Right.
like brothers. I think Marshall spent more time in AJ's house than AJ has in the last 2 years. So they're just great buddies. So it was way cool to watch, and the respect that each of them had for each other was really, really cool.
Yeah, it really was. It was a great show, and like me and Ducey was talking, it looked like it was a tough seating arrangement. So hats off to our girl because she pulled it
Absolutely.
off. She
Yep,
pulled
great
it off, man. I'm telling you, that looked like a packed house. So
It was. You had a lot of people come out of the woodwork because of Jake Peters is from Decatur. You got AJ coming from Chicagoland. Plus, he's bringing all the people from Kenosha. So it
Right.
was a big, and Sean Lavery Spark brought a lot of people too. So it was packed. It was packed.
Right.
And Marshall's in Michigan now.
Marshall's in Michigan, and he went to school in Chicago, so we had a lot
Right.
of college people come too. So I mean, it was very much a hometown crowd for all the guys.
Exactly.
No one was the outsider. And EJ
That's
being
really cool.
from Indiana. I mean, everybody was rooting for him too.
Right.
yeah. Okay, let's jump into this. Tonight's guest is a radio announcer for the Miami Hurricanes from '98 to 2000. Served host and substitute as a play-by-play announcer for the Heat from '93 to '99. He was the voice of the Florida Atlantic Owls football team from its inception of 01 to 10. Let's see, spent 6 years as co-host of NFL Sunday on the Westwood One radio network from 02 to 08. And was a spring training PA voice for the Baltimore Orioles. during their last 8 seasons at Fort Lauderdale. Let's see. My God, the resume just goes on and on. Let's get to the good stuff, okay? 06, 2016 became the lead play-by-play broadcaster for what? The PBA Tour when the event's on ESPN. And then he fills in since 2019 has filled in on the PBA broadcast on Fox Sport when Rob Stone is not available. Hey, we love this guy. We spent time with him in Wisconsin 2 years ago.
Yep.
Spent time with him a week before last. Sat there and chatted for well over an hour or so. So we appreciate him stopping by and wanting to be a part. So everyone, let's bring him to the stage, Mr. Voice himself, Dave Lamont. How are you, sir?
Good. How is everybody?
We're
Good,
good,
hey,
sir.
Dave.
How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
That was a mouthful for someone who talks all the time.
Well, it's luckily the one thing I'm good at. Don't ask me to do anything else. If I change a light bulb, I send out a tweet.
Mine, that was a mouthful for me, man. I was like, wow. We're trying to do better. We have been told by the nice, lovely young lady in the corner, we've got to tone it up and get it trending this way. You can't just get on here and start saying, hey, let's get Dave Lamont on here. Hey, Dave, what's going on? You got to talk about the guy,
A
right?
little more structure.
Yeah, a little more structure.
Well, it's a podcast. You can kind of do whatever you want.
But what I like about Dave is we're a minute and a half in, and Dave's already went to the truck. What's the drink of choice?
Well,
tonight?
it was. I swear it was a coincidence, but when Michelle first came in and she said she wanted to kill everybody, I did get up, but that was just to get a drink. I had finished my dinner, and I had a non-alcoholic beverage with dinner, but I thought I would give you something since I'm in Florida, something that was made in Florida. So I have here rum.
Oh,
straight.
nice.
Wow.
It's a company called Papa's Pilar in Key West. They also have a place in, I think it's Sarasota or Lakeland. They're basically the same place. And I have a good buddy who helps promote this stuff too. And it's a rare rum. This is the dark that you can actually drink like this. I don't have to pound a bunch of Coke or Diet Coke with it. So I thought this is good for sipping, and it's not something you slam. And so I thought this would be a nice accompaniment.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, I tell you,
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and being a part. So let's get this thing going. One of the questions that was and I'll try not to shake the table about that. One of the questions that was given to me earlier today was, how long does it take for you guys, you and Randy and Kimberly, how long does it take for you guys to prepare for the Sunday or Saturday, what day it may be, for the broadcast? So I guess, in other words, how much time you guys spend with each of the 5 members?
Well, it just depends on the personalities. Obviously, over the time, you mentioned 2016, I've been around, and I'm not around all the time, but just about everybody knows me. And obviously, they know Randy and Kimberly. So these are pretty informal meetings. These aren't, they were just sitting around like in Indy. We just sat around the bleachers and chatted. And sometimes we don't even chat about bowling. Right. We might get into other conversations, and then we'll ask a couple of bowling questions. And then we already know, especially Randy, he knows what you're going to throw. Mm-hmm. He has already an idea about, the way you bowl, because usually you get in a couple of days ahead of time, and you always want to watch those last few games of qualifying or match play, whatever you got going on there. And then with the Saturday, in this case, we had another show to do, the league show. So normally you get with these guys, I'd say about 3 hours ahead of time, because they're there. They're going to start practicing a little bit anyway, and they understand it's part of the deal, and it's always a fun conversation.
Sure.
Well, that's like our deal here. We're veterans who bowl, but we also talk about other things. So we're going to touch on a couple of different things, especially this long resume you have, because I mean, Dave, you've done it all, man. You've done baseball, football. Bowling.
Basketball.
Basketball. If you even, shoot, who knows? Dave might have even done NASCAR for all we know.
No auto racing, but I have done volleyball. I've done a few. They had a golf show for a while. We were looking for it was a junior golf program that was on tape.
Wow.
Our tagline was "Looking for the next Tiger." We didn't find him, but
Wow.
It's hard to
that was
find.
fun to do.
It's his son.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the golf show was like 20 years ago, so it wasn't happening. But I don't like to say no, and that's always advice I give younger people who ask is don't say no very often. And
Right.
I think it's an easy time. When I was say 25, trying to find a job out of town was an ordeal. It's one of the reasons I think I stayed in South Florida. Partly, I think I was a little lazy at the time. And also, you don't have the resources. There was no internet. You might have had one or two industry publications, and if you couldn't find them, you didn't know where these jobs were unless somebody tipped you off.
Right.
Now,
Wow.
jobs everywhere.
Exactly. What do you like the best?
Well, I like them all. Basketball is fun because you're right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've noticed, especially in the NBA, they're moving people up into the stands now because they want to sell those seats, and they can make a fortune selling courtside seats. But I like being right there. You can see the interaction with the coaches and the officials, which can be very important. You can get an idea of the body language. You can get, there's a lot you can tell from being that close. Bowling might be my favorite, and people ask, well, why do you say that? And I say, well, it's not necessarily the sport, although it has a lot to do with it, but it's the people in the sport that make it great. And so all the people that I've gotten to know over the years, and maybe I don't see them that often, but whenever you do, it's always a great time. And just even if you just sit around the center and talk for 5-10 minutes and get caught up on your lives. So I think from a personality standpoint, bowling wins hands down.
I think that's one of the coolest things about sport. And I think that's one of the reasons why Gary and I tried to put this together. And Michelle came on board, is because it's just such a great community. It's such a wonderful group of people. There is no other sport in the world that you can play other than the golf, maybe, that you play for your entire life. And secondly, that you can have the access to the pros that you can in bowling. I mean, there are pro-ams at almost every one of these tournaments. You can go out and bowl, hang out with them, have a cocktail with them afterwards, talk to them as people. And the next thing you know, you become friends, family, and super fans. So it is the best.
I tell a story that, I might have been 2017, maybe 18. We were doing a show in Oklahoma in Sewanee at the casino, not at the arena, but at the casino itself. And I remember the conditions were just hideous. It was 2 days. We had like 10 people in the ladder. I think it came down to Marshall and Chris Barnes. And the conditions were just awful. And Chris had to hit a spot about that big to have a chance to strike in his last shot. And he'd been dealing with people who weren't acting properly in the stands, who were moving and all this other stuff. And he didn't make the shot, didn't win the show. It's heartbreaking. We all know how competitive Chris is. I leave. Randy and I take our stuff off or pick our bags up, start to walk around. And there's Chris within 3 minutes of this heartbreaking defeat, signing autographs.
Yeah.
Not turning anybody down.
Right.
Talking to people. His family's there. Linda's there with the kids. And yet he knows, hey, I still have to promote my sport. Yeah, it sucks I lost, and that drive back to Texas is going to be terrible. But I can't say no to these people because they came out to watch me and my sport. And that's the kind of people you get. I mean, when Indy, there's a meet and greet with Kyle Troop after he wins the U.S. Open. I don't think there was any meet and greets with Tiger Woods when he won the U.S. Open at Pebble.
No.
That's just the people nature of the sport, and that's why I really like it as much as I do.
Absolutely.
Well, we know, but another question was, how early do you get in for the event so that you can prepare? Of course, Ducey and I know because we've had the blessed fortune of being there sometimes all week, sometimes half a week. But so let everybody know about what time, say for the Open, give them an idea when you came in and what you did to get ready to come in.
Well, for the Indy, you get in, that was Friday, Saturday. So I got in Thursday, and because I have a day job teaching, I couldn't get in until Thursday night, actually pretty late, because you can't fly direct out of Fort Lauderdale to Indy. So Friday, I was there at 10. That's when I saw you all.
Right.
To start, who's doing what? Who's in good form? I mean, this has been going on for a couple of days. We've cut the field down to 24. Right. So who's in, who's got a shot? And then you walk in and say, okay, well, those 12 guys, they're done. There's no way they can do it. Now let me look at who has a chance. and you just start watching. And
Yeah.
I spent a little time with the Bowl TV guys because they've been there the whole time, and they can give me some intel about certain people. No, there's no question. So like Simonson was running away with it, and we all kind of knew him, partway through Friday that he's number one. And that as strong as the people are who were chasing him, then Jason wasn't going to catch him. Nobody was going to catch him. So you spend some time doing that. Then because we had an unusual 2 days worth of shows, you did a Friday night meeting with the production crew to go over the Saturday show, the league show. And then Saturday after we did the league show, we did a production meeting for the Sunday show, which made sense. We were all there,
Right.
Why drag everybody back? And those folks have, the people who aren't on camera put in massive hours. Let's see, 10:30 for a Saturday show. I think it was 11 for the Sunday show. And on prep days on Friday for them when they're building the set, it's 17, 18-hour days.
It's a long day for sure.
It's a long day.
Unbelievable because, I tell people, hey, those lights and those bleachers and that wiring and all that stuff just wasn't there.
They don't leave it up
4 days ago. It gets built the 2 days before. Right. So our prep is just watching. And maybe, you grab a guy on the side, you talk to ball reps. Again, this is the good part about the sport is if you're known, you can get access. You can literally walk into the settee if you want to. I don't like to do that very often during competition, but somebody might say something, or I might see somebody, hey, Brett, what's going on with this? And he'll give me a quick line, then he'll go off and do something.
Right.
And Bowl TV is a little different because we are there from strike one. So I usually don't get into like the day before, simply because you try to limit some of the time you have on the road because those events 4, 5, 6 days. With the PBA 50 tour, some of them. So and that crew is incredibly easy to work with.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, those guys.
Look at they'll come over and just talk. People like Parker Bone III will just come over in the middle of your show and they'll start talking to you. And you say, hey, grab that mic there. And he does it. Barnes does it. We did it one time, and I'm an old cartoon guy, so you all remember the Roadrunner, right?
Sure.
All right. Remember one of the things the Coyotes tried to do was the free birdseed sign.
Right.
Try to trap the Roadrunner that way. So we took a microphone and we put it on a table and just put a piece of paper on it and said, just talk into here. I call it the free birdseed mic. And it stayed there for a couple of days. And after a while, people started just grabbing it on their way, transitioning from one end of the house to the other, and would just talk to us.
That's awesome.
Just like, oh, this is terrible. I'm the worst bowler ever. Or like, well, whatever is on their mind. They know here's something very important. They know us and they trust us.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That comes with time, and that you've earned their respect for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they know that you're going to represent them well, and you've never done anything wrong by them. So that's awesome. That's a great kudos.
Well, yeah, that's important in broadcasting in general. When you're doing a football game or a basketball game, and sometimes coaches will tell you something in confidence, and they'll say, but do me a favor, don't say anything about this till the game starts. Mm-hmm. Or I haven't told the team yet, but I'm changing my quarterbacks this week, but I'm telling you guys so you're prepared for it. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go grab my phone and call somebody and say, hey, guess what I found out?
Right.
Because that coach will find out fast. And then the next time you show up there, you are not going to be treated well. And because you violated confidence.
Right. That'd be the one last time you get to do that.
Yeah.
I got another question before Ducey jumps in with one. Favorite event and favorite center?
I like Wayne's Place a lot, but probably Riviera because of the history.
Okay.
Very cool. Yep.
Favorite event? Wow, that's hard. It has to be a major of some variety. Right. So I've done them all, fortunately. I think the Open, because it's the hardest one to win. The USBC Masters is great, but there's always an element of the biggest name's not going to make it because there's so many little tripwires.
Correct.
You go through
right.
Format.
So
tough format.
So much.
And as
match
it should
fun.
be, by the way. I favor tough formats for Masters. So I would say any major is fine by me because I want that big payoff at the end. I did, several USBC Queens events and Women's US Opens, and I loved that payoff when the winner would get, and not just the check, which is sweet, of course, but a tiara, a jacket, whatever the prestige of the trophy, all of that stuff.
But don't you think, and this is just me personally, because I've been to several places. Deuce and I've been to several places together. I know Michelle, she's been in the last 20 years, she's hit a lot of them. But is there not just something special about Woodland Bowl, though?
Well, there's a lot of history there, and
Right.
they do a magnificent job.
Yes.
And the other thing about Woodland that's great is the size of the place
Right.
is conducive for these events. And you had a lot of spectators. I was so thrilled to see so many people in there on Friday. I mean, I'm almost 6'3". When I have to work hard to see something, that's good. That means there's a lot of depth, or as Yogi Berra would call it, deep depth. That's one. Another house I got to mention, by the way, my boys in Delaware at Middletown.
Yep.
They do a kick-ass job of putting on tournaments, and the tour will be there, I think, in a few weeks.
They will. Yep.
Two
They
and a
work.
half weeks.
Yeah, they're great.
Right.
They are great.
But
I'm
now
looking
you will
forward
go
to-
down. Let me say this, and then I'll let Deucey talk for a while. But you're going to go down in history as calling one of the biggest PBA television shows ever.
Yeah.
You think? I mean, that was huge.
That lineup.
All the winners that was on there, a packed, sold out house. We spoke to Jimmy afterwards. He said I couldn't put another person in here if I wanted to.
Yeah,
They had
I
to turn.
believe that.
They had to turn people away from Fox.
Our stage manager wanted her boyfriend to get in, and normally that would not be a problem, and he did not get in.
Exactly. So you, Mr. David Lamont, called one of the biggest events in PBA history.
Yeah, you're right. I
Well, there you
can't
go.
argue that. And it's another thing that makes the job fun is to luck into a situation like that. Woodland is Carolier is another one that's historic.
Mhm.
For the amount of events that have been held there that are top notch and major championships. Woodland, I think, may have the record now, or is tied with Carolier for the most majors. It's a blast to get that opportunity. The show itself was a little strange, to be honest. The way the first match was weird, and EJ somehow coming off, out of a grave almost to win.
Right.
And, just some of the strange leaves and Belmonte's unusually quiet performance.
Monty missing a single pin spare.
Well, the guy who saved the show, thank God for Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because two things. We all, this isn't any secret, but anybody who's watching who may not, or listening who may not know, Kyle's personality is perfect for big settings and big crowds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
He eats that up. And when he started to get going emotionally, as much as when he made that one big, was it 3, 6, 7, 10, right? That turned him into Fro Pick Kyle.
Right.
Fro Pick Kyle is dangerous.
Yes.
Quiet
Belmo,
Kyle.
Belmo even said it in the telecast. He's like, listen, I need him to keep that pick in his pocket because once he takes that out, we're in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
And he's right. Fro Pick Kyle's a different guy than regular Kyle.
Yep.
And regular Kyle left. Fro Pick Kyle tagged in, like tag team wrestling. And he's won the crowd because they lost EJ. I'm sure they wanted EJ. He's the local. I get that completely. And he's great. Once he won the crowd and all that, even as brilliant as Simonson is, and Anthony gets off to a bad start, and I thought, well, sorry, buddy, even as good as you are, I don't think you're going to take Kyle down. Not today.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. It was his day, especially, it was unfortunate because we had two horses in the race. Well, we got a lot of horses in the race, but the two horses were EJ and Kyle. And when they had to face each other early on, it's like, man, whoever wins this match, we want him to run the ladder from there.
Right.
Right.
If it would have been EJ, we'd have been screaming and hollering for him just as big as we did last year. And it was Kyle and EJ in the finals last year, so it was great. But I was really proud and happy to see Kyle turning around and get his this year if EJ couldn't get it.
He doesn't have to sweat being a non-U.S. Open winner anymore. You mark that off.
Correct.
But I was just impressed. And also, he managed his emotions so well. So it was almost like he turned one side of his face, and there's Fro Pick Kyle, and there's the other side of his face, and it's just Kyle, and just Kyle threw the shots, and then the other side of the face would celebrate him.
Yeah.
And that was an impressive show of mental strength, I thought, by Kyle in that setting. If he was nervous, it didn't show when he threw the ball.
And I watched him for quite a bit all week, and he was extremely focused the entire time. So that's the first time I've seen him be that laser locked in, even during qualifying, match play, everything. He was boom. And then, obviously had a little bit of emotion when he made that spare, gave the dog tag bowling guys a shout out when he gave the high fives coming through. And then at the end, he was able to let it out, and that's just when it was awesome. It was just so cool. But he was really, really mentally tough that whole week. It was really awesome to watch.
I was crying.
I wasn't crying. Who's crying?
Michelle was crying.
I choked a little bit when he went to the guppy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I've been a sports dad for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you see the highs and lows of your boys, in my case, boys. And so I kind of was going through guppy there as a dad, just to see that kind of thing. Does make you emotional, the amount of pride you have, and all the times, you go through all of that thought. I'm sure he did, of, long drives or lonely drives, or times that Kyle bowled poorly, and when he was a kid and Guppy had to pick him up and take him home, or try to encourage, however they did it. I'm sure a lot of that came back to Guppy during that final match.
For sure.
And this is one of the tournaments that Guppy bowled in years ago and lost on the last shot in the finals or something.
He's never won it. So he's never won it. So that was what was way cool.
Yeah.
So,
and someone pointed it out after the show concluded. I think it had been off air, but someone hollered out and said something about Kyle winning something you couldn't, something to that effect to Guppy, and he got a good kick out of it.
I think Kyle said it on the interview.
Maybe that's what it was.
Because we had some extra time, thankfully, and not having the NASCAR race that day really worked out for us. Because we, the year before, when EJ won, I guess they had to run off the air.
It
barely got EJ's jacket and a smile, and they had to go. This year, the telecast ran a little short, and we had, I think it was 8 or 9 minutes to fill, which is wonderful. Now you can go long, you can really drag this not drag it out, but stretch it out is a better way to say it. And so NASCAR having the unfortunate weather in California, but it worked out for our benefit.
Right.
but that's the way it needs to be every tournament.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, Deuce, but
No, you're fine, buddy.
you don't have why, and it's not just you. This is every episode. I have not a complaint. It's listed as a professional concern. Why does bowling have to always take a back seat? Why not allow the guys to say, "Thank you, so and so. Thank you, so and so. Thank you, so and so." These are the people that pay these guys. Okay, these are the people that's going to go out. The guys on Monday are going to go buy these products because the guy just won 200,000, 100,000, whatever.
Exactly.
And this is going to help promote the sport.
Give them the time they're due, for sure.
Exactly. You don't cut the U.S. Open golf off. And my God, you don't cut NASCAR off, but I know NASCAR is the bread and butter. I get it. But you know what, Dave, and you can maybe help me understand, what is 3 minutes?
Well, we had a break on Saturday. We ran long, and they let us do it. I remember I did a direct toss to the track, which surprised me because I didn't have a watch on that day. I looked at my watch and I went, "Oh my God, this is unprecedented," because we were told hard out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, well, we're not making that because we had the extra frames, we had three games and all this other stuff. And I thought, well, I guess we're going to finish this thing on FS2. And instead they let us bleed, which I thought was very generous. But you touched on it, guys. It's about money.
It is.
Why did we start at 4:10 with the first ball on the lanes on that Sunday? Because of the soccer show. How much money is Fox invested in the World Cup?
Yep.
Right.
A little bit more than bowling.
Absolutely.
So they're going to ride with that because ultimately, whether we like it or not, the World Cup will deliver a bigger audience.
For sure.
I get it. I get it. Money rules the world. I get it. But here's the thing, and then I'll let Ducey get us caught up on Bowl TV. What's happening with the league? I know Michelle, you want to hear from her. We got people chatting over here. But here's the thing, and I'll move off this topic. Last week, Marshall Kent hadn't won in a long time. A lot has happened since Marshall Kent has won. It was in AJ's basically backyard, right? So as soon as Marshall wins, you can't hear nothing that he says. He has to verbally just say it because Ducey was in the crowd. As soon as AJ threw the last shot, when Marshall picked up the cup, that was it. It wasn't even a good, people love to hear what you, Rob, Ryan, and especially Kimberly. I mean, you got to have an exit interview with her. That's a draw, right? But Randy Peterson, you got to give that time.
I did not. I was working Saturday night. What was the program following that? Basketball?
Yes.
I don't even know. Was it basketball?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was
Utah State and BYU or some of that mess out west. Okay, it's not SEC, so don't even bring that in here. But
it's
anyway,
not SEC, one Big Ten. It wasn't.
It was Utah State, Dave. Come on, Utah State. But anyway, okay, I've griped long enough, but we don't blame you, Dave. I'm just saying.
I get it. Your points are valid. I just always argue, counter back with the money argument. And
it is.
And
that's what it is.
Until we can break that trend, and hopefully, getting more and more people involved in this, it'll help and get people to understand what these guys go through. And all I can say is just go to tournaments. People go to the PBA events, please. They're not strangers. Just get out there and go do it. Experience the opportunity and see how it goes. Michelle, before you ask your question, I got a question for Dave. Dave,
Johnny's in here.
You get pulled a gazillion different ways. And how in the world, why did you decide that you would want to come on our podcast?
You asked.
That's
the easiest question I've been asked in 3 years, I think. You asked.
I think I see it on your wall. There's a little flag on your wall right
exactly.
behind
There is, yeah. This is our den. Actually, my wife works from home now. She jettisoned the office. And in the den, I've got an autographed Orioles jersey. And this is not just a small slice of the room. The 16th hole at Augusta, which was a wedding present, believe it or not.
Awesome.
And a bunch of things. But yeah, that's in honor of my dad, who was a bomber pilot in World War II. And for a couple of years, back when it was called the Army Air Corps.
Correct.
So my mother-in-law actually framed that flag after my dad passed in 2001.
Well, we appreciate his service. And I got to brag for a second, but I'm in my man cave too. So I got.
There you go.
I got a little.
This is more like the wife cave now. She is. I don't get in here very often. She's got this set up. I have to be very careful when I clean out later that I don't screw up the order of things in here.
But you touched on that.
We greatly appreciate you coming on, and I think once we started talking about the military relationship and what your dad had been through, and what you brought up on the internet and showed us his missions that he went on, I think it was a good fit. So we greatly appreciate you coming on.
Sure.
Yeah. Good call, Deuce, because that's what I was leaning towards, because you shared stories about your dad and you showed us his mission roster. And so we appreciate, because, you're talking WW2, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. So
Archie Bunker used to say the big one.
The big one, exactly. So
we're all old enough. So I don't think Michelle's old enough to know who Archie Bunker is.
No.
Know what?
Who
Archie Bunker is.
I know the name. I do. I think he's the actor.
No, he's a character.
There you go.
It's a show called.
He was a character.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
He was a character.
Yeah.
Yes.
On what?
All in the Family. It was a
All
show.
in the Family.
My parents used to watch that.
Yeah, it was a huge program. Obviously, television's so much different than it is now.
Television's
but yes,
awful now.
Well, it's just different.
It's definitely
and
different.
It's not wholesome anymore.
It would not be allowed on
I don't
TV
like
these
that.
days.
Well, it wasn't necessarily wholesome in the 70s either, because people started learning how to walk. We were done with the black and white days where Dad would sit around in the suit, eating Mom being in the kitchen for 12 straight hours.
True.
The 70s changed all that.
True.
We are so blessed to have she is a angel in disguise. She has been sent from heaven above, because me and Deuce, we're just these old rough military guys with great families. But we're so old. Michelle's old enough to be our daughter. So there you go.
Or young enough to be your daughter.
I was gonna say,
Excuse me.
which way are we
Excuse
going
me.
here, man?
Well, wait a minute. Now I've been to the truck. Okay, so
Still.
let me throw this up there though. This is a good one. Dave has such a great voice for TV. That's Greg Wright.
Comes in handy, Greg. Thank you.
There you go.
I have a voice for radio and a face. I have a face for radio. That's why.
I have a face for cartoons and a voice for I don't know.
Jeez,
I'm bad. I'm
you
sorry.
are awful.
We're going to get it.
Curious. Where did you start to get to where you are now? To start in sideline reporting. I know you were with was it the Heat?
Yeah, well, it goes back. I mean, if you want the way back, I always knew that I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. Once I found out I was the world's worst child athlete. You're laughing. But I loved sports. And so I just obsessively watched sports TV as a kid growing up. Obsessively.
Mm-hmm.
I used to, and I wish I could find it. Not that it would do you any good to show it, but on a typewriter, when I'm probably about 11 or 12, I actually wrote a small booklet reviewing every network and their sportscasters.
Whoa.
That's pretty awesome.
That's on a typewriter now.
Wow.
Wow.
It's around here somewhere. And this den that you can't see, we've got more books and newspapers and all this other stuff. It's pretty crazy in here. But so I had a love with it. If you go back with bowling, I was a Chris and Bo guy. I mean, I was actually Chris and Billy Whaley when I was a little kid. I go back that far. So
wow,
that was going to be it for me. I was fortunate enough to get a break in puberty and started doing public address announcing when I was a freshman in high school in Virginia.
Oh, wow.
I was the voice of the basketball team and a couple of other sports. Baseball I did. And then we moved to Fort Lauderdale, and I did it there and got some internships that worked out. I met a guy who became probably my biggest mentor when I was 17, covering events in South Florida. So I'm covering Don Shula at 17, 18 years old, just wetting my pants because he was so intimidating. And, the University of Miami was starting to grow in football. Also, we had soccer at the time, and you'd have people like Pele come in to play, believe it or not, in a 15,000-seat high school stadium in the old North American Soccer League. Here I am, 18 years old, watching Pele play.
That's amazing.
Stuff like that. It was very heady, and I just fell in love with it even more. So gradually, with a couple of, certainly some rocky times along the way, the TV thing started in 1992 when I got I was the first host for the Miami Heat. Did that for 7 years. At the same time, I got involved with the University of Miami in the mid-90s and was doing both for a while. They both went away at the same time. And fortunately, FAU came along, and I did that for 9 years. And then 2005, I was hired by ABC, initially as a sideline reporter, but with the understanding that I would move upstairs eventually, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And bowling started in 2010.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, you started that early.
Yeah, it was. I got a phone call at 2010. I was a pure freelancer, so if I wasn't working, I wasn't getting paid.
Right.
And I got a call from a guy at ESPN, a talent coordinator, and he goes, "Hey, you have any interest in professional bowling?" I said, "Damn right I do." And he said, "Well, we got a couple of we got 2 events. We got a women's event and a college event, and the USBC is looking for somebody, and we thought maybe you might be the guy. Would you go down to Texas and meet with those guys?" And it turned out it was Matt Lawson and Pete Treadwell, who were still dear friends of mine. They were hiring at the time. And I met Chris Barnes, who was the first person I worked with in bowling, and Linda. Mm-hmm. And we hit it off immediately. I mean, on the first trip, we were going pants shopping, Chris and I, so you knew it was going to be a good friendship. And, I think I needed a pair of pants, and he decided to come along with me. So there we are at the Bank in El Paso, Texas, pants shopping.
Now, you guys are pretty much... You're pretty much similar heights. Do you just kind of know you can shop for each other now?
No, he's thinner than I am. He was at the time anyway. And so I'm a little bigger than I was too. It was just, we just hit it off. And
That's
so we
awesome.
did the college shows, and then we did the Queens show. And then we added the U.S. Open when that came back, and we started just doing that. And then that's how it started, really. And then ESPN just kept not hiring me when they kept having openings for the PBA position until finally in 2016.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
So prior to that, did you bowl at all
Well,
or have any familiarity?
For a
with
while I
bowling?
did, and then frankly, Michelle, I just ran out of time to do it right. I didn't want to be one of these guys that signs up for something and then half the time I have to sub out.
Sure.
So my bowling game suffered tremendously, but to be honest, it was more important that I work, and pursue
Right.
the career dream that I've always had. I've had some physical issues in the last 5 years that really make it difficult to bowl consistently because I get pain on the right side. It's a long story and I won't go into it, but it's, the right side of my body's not quite what it should be. And I'm missing a couple of parts down there. So it's tough to do it well. And I was, I make Tom Hess look like your local librarian when I bowl. I was a hothead. Not proud of it, but I was a hothead. And I'm sure if I would love to get back just a fun, casual type league where I don't feel like the whole world's depending on whether or not I can make a 4-pin. And that'll happen here eventually. My life's going to start to slow down, I hope, and I can start doing things like that and get back into bowling like I used to.
Well, that was the question right there.
If you're hurting on the right hand, you're hurting on the right side, bowl lefty.
I even tried a 2-hand shot one time, and I'm glad nobody looked at me when I did it. I'm surprised it landed on the same lane that I was bowling on.
It's difficult.
All right, I won't get into details as to why, but I am missing a glute muscle on my right side.
Okay.
So try that when you're right-handed and you're bending consistently. After a while, all the other muscles are like, hey, do you remember you don't have what you're supposed to have to be halfway decent at bowling?
Mm-hmm.
So it is a little bit physically difficult. It
Right.
certainly hurt me a little bit in golf.
Sure.
I think I've lost some power, not just through age, but through just pushing off. It's hard. I can't run anymore. Not that I was any kind of a runner before. So I always joke around that you can count on me to do a half-ass job.
Well, there you go.
Hey, you get what you pay for.
There you go. So not related to the podcast, but I'm bowling better last night since Michelle was present. You want to comment?
He couldn't be at league last night. My son had a basketball game.
Oh, okay.
So he bowled like crap. I told him it's because I wasn't there.
And then here's Deucey's fan club. What's up, Deuce?
Hey, that's more the boys we met in Illinois, and they have joined the dog tags.
Hey.
Yeah,
great.
So they Dersh, yeah, absolutely. Those guys from Wisconsin, They're awesome. They're sitting right behind me. They're great. So I'm glad they joined. I told them about the podcast. They joined the Facebook page, so they'll be commenting going forward. So it's gonna be awesome.
I'm also mesmerized by that blinking bar sign over your shoulder.
That's the $10 Walmart sign. I could turn it off if you like.
No, that's okay. It's like when you're speaking, I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the sign.
I tried to talk in rhythm with the light.
Dave, you need to go spend the night at his house and sleep in the man cave.
Hey, I'd be up for that.
It's not that far from the Mount Prospect show. That was pretty cool because the Saturday, they were off Friday before the show. The show was on Saturday, so they're off on Friday. So the guys had some time to kill. So Cal Troop, Jesper Svensson, and Daryl Radcliffe all came to the house, got to see the man cave. We all went up for lunch. It was pretty cool.
It looks a little bit like what we have on the PBA 50 when we go to Bud Moore's basement and shoot the finals, have the live finals of the PBA 50 event there.
Oh, nice.
It's really pretty wild. That's where Pete got his most recent victory too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an unbelievable setup. He's got 2 legitimate USB-C certified lanes there.
No,
the
kidding.
old
Awesome.
overhead projector with grease pencil to keep score. And we got a bar, full bar. We set up in the workout room. Guys were coming in. He's got one of these $10,000 massage chairs. Pete came in there a few times. And a full locker room, game room with foosball, pinball, all that stuff, media room, big screens, all this. That's just the basement. And the best part for us is with equipment, he's got an elevator, so we don't have to take our stuff to set up downstairs. Thank God for the elevator, because I don't even want to think about what it would take to get all that stuff up and down the
I
stairs.
couldn't imagine having an elevator in my house.
I've been to some places that have elevators in the house, but I've not been to a place that's got a bowling alley in their house.
Well, it's Gosh, if I had my phone, I could look. It'll probably be in July again. It'll be on Bolt TV for sure. And I assume I don't want to get cocky, but I would assume that I'm going to be involved in it. But
Well,
I was looking at the schedule earlier just to catch some dates and try to figure out how this is all going to go down. But yeah, it's a really unique event. And the cool thing was Pete won.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
had had
Yeah.
that long drought, and you wondered, oh crap, is this going to start being near the end? And it was anything but that.
And he's in Missouri this week too, so I mean he's going to give it a run. He's got the PBA
Right.
exemption in, so it's named after him. That'd be kind of awesome to see him make a cut. But yeah, it's that would be really cool.
It's July 14th through the 19th. So I think based on these things, the tournament actually starts
The
the
19th.
15th.
Yep.
And is this if they made this a major? Oh yeah, it's the Players Championship.
Oh, nice. Where's it at?
Wow.
It's in I'm a Northern Virginia guy. It's not where I used to live. It's out west by Dulles Airport.
Yep.
Okay.
And then when you go to bowl to the finals, he lives in a quieter rural area. Although if you turn one way getting off the highway, you can go to George Mason University. If you go the other way, it gets more rural and quiet. He's got a beautiful home there.
I was stationed at Fort Myers, so I know Northern Virginia really, really well. Right next to Arlington National Cemetery.
Yeah.
Dated a girl that went to Chantilly High School, so I know all that stuff out.
Well, that's
There's
terrible.
always a girl involved in Ducey's story. Have you caught that, Gary?
Yeah, there's all.
Hey,
The sad part was you did notice, Michelle, it was past tense.
that was a long time
Good
ago.
point.
Yeah, I went to George C. Marshall for a couple of years before we moved.
Gotcha.
Well, Ducey's Man Cave is now the Dog Tags Experience World Headquarters.
I'm
Yes.
good with that.
Look what he has. I'm in the dining room, so you can't.
Yeah,
You can't.
it has a
promote the
dining room
dining-
look to it.
Yeah, this is the old part of the house. We've remodeled the house. This is where I get to stay. Yeah.
Well, I've done dining room podcasts. The problem is we've got 2 cats and a dog, and you probably would have been introduced to the cats had I done it out there. They just come and walk across the screen. So
Let me get caught up real quick, Deuce, Michelle. So Greg,
hang on.
Greg,
Greg Wright wants to know, do I have a dartboard? Yeah, I got a dartboard. Troop and Jesper threw darts here the other day, so yeah, I got one.
Okay. Greg also wanted to say that he was sorry to hear about your right side issues.
thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. It's kind of weird, but everything is okay. That's the bottom line.
And Ducey's guys he brought in, they're excited about being a part. And you didn't ask about the pool table ping pong.
No pool table, no ping pong. There ain't no room. I got a card table, I got a dartboard, and I got booze. That's all I need.
Now, if you took out the booze, you'd probably have room for the other stuff, but you don't want to do that.
Dave, you know me too well already.
But in all seriousness, the man cave is a respect to his family, his grandparents, all of his family have he's got all the
2 grandfathers were both in World War II. My wife's uncle was in Vietnam. My wife's father was in World War II. We've got pictures of all of them during active duty service.
Yeah.
It's pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
The flag that's on that wall right there is her great uncle that was in World War I.
Wow.
And then
Nice.
my grandfather's flag is on the other wall from World War II.
Yeah. So it's a great place to have a world headquarters, that's for sure. So
Yep.
all right, so let's ask Dave a couple more before we let him go. What do you do outside of broadcasting? We know you teach, right?
Right. Yeah, I teach broadcasting, oddly enough. And the good thing is my commute is about 5 minutes both ways at a high school called American Heritage. And they have a fine broadcast program. We actually produce a morning show every day, Monday through Friday, that's live, run by the students. And all of the teachers we have for that class are all industry professionals. So hopefully we're giving them good education. And then there are other classes that are beginning classes and multimedia type classes. We have a sports broadcast class, which is full of personality because there's a lot of athletes in there. And that's my main job right now. So that's kind of why I'm not around as much as I'd like to be. That's not the only reason, I guess. Nobody wants to hire me at this point either. But I would like to do more with Bowl TV if I can in the future, in the wintertime, in addition to summer schedule. But that's pretty much it right now. Also, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Highline.
Yep, absolutely. Big time in South Florida.
All right. Well, in the 80s, going back to what Michelle was asking about how I kind of got started, there was a little period there where I was not on the radio, and I needed a job pretty badly. And I just moved out, got away from mom and dad. And luckily, Dania Highline needed an announcer. And it worked out beautifully. And I was there for 7 years until my radio career started to build back up and I could walk away from Highline. And now, unfortunately, the sport is down to about us and the people who put on the shows in Miami, which is two different types. So I go back. We do short seasons. I do it as a favor to a buddy of mine who runs the Highline. We're now like 10% of a casino instead of 100% Highline, but I still enjoy it. And so we're wrapping up. We got 2 weeks to go, and then I'll get a little bit more rest.
Yeah, it's a very interesting sport, and I've seen it when I was a kid. I think it's the fastest ball sport out there. I mean, these guys,
100%.
How fast
100%.
do balls go? Like 140, 150 mile an hour?
Routinely, like 130, 140, 150.
Yeah.
And if you just crank, you can get close to 2. I think the record is over 200. But in a typical game, 130, 140, when you first get rid of it is fair.
And that's not unheard of. That's pretty commonplace.
And the other thing that makes it interesting is the ball, because you just can't run down to your local sporting goods store. Hey, you got any highlight balls on sale? Not happening. All that stuff is handmade.
Yep.
So it's a rubber center with a goat skin on the outside. You've got a guy who sits upstairs with a thing of Cuban coffee, and he just sews balls and makes balls all, that's his job.
Yeah.
It's a real art. And so that ball is the hardest ball in sports. If you did have a billiard room back there and you think a pool ball or a baseball, I'm telling you, a highlight ball is worse to get hit by.
It was one of the episodes of Jackass. They were down in Florida, and one of the highlight players from Miami took just an orange.
Yeah.
Chucked it at Johnny Knoxville, and it took him off his feet, and he had a bruise this big on the back of his leg for a month.
You guys are strong.
It blew the orange apart on his leg. It disintegrated.
Yeah, the highlight ball itself, if he had done that and hit him in the wrong spot of the leg, he would have caused some very serious damage.
Yeah, it could have killed him.
Even just, I played it for a while recreationally, and man, I did everything I could to avoid getting nicked. Even a deflection into your ankle or something like that was brutal.
I have to look this up. I don't even know what this is.
It's
if
you go to YouTube. Yeah, if you go to YouTube and look up Dania, Dania Beach, and then Highlight, which is JAI-ALAI, that's who I work for. And we got a bunch of shows on there, performances and you get an idea. It's a simple game. I think it's a simple game to at least get the basics, and you can bet on it. Makes it fun for people that way too.
Yep.
Let's get this in real quick. Most memorable telecast.
Bowling telecast. I guess we'll start with that. Oh boy, I remember Liz Johnson winning. Was it the Chameleon on the PBA tour?
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty memorable.
Yeah.
That EJ, I think the first big weekend I ever did was at WSOB when EJ broke through and had that win and hugged his dad afterwards.
Yeah.
Very memorable.
Jumped up in his arms.
Because, the year before he had kind of had to get away from him and people were starting to question, this young guy's got a lot of talent, but he can't close. All the negative stuff was said about him. And obviously that was wrong. But at the time we didn't know that. That jumps out. Because of the emotion that was involved in that. I think this last one was memorable because of the emotion involved in it as well. And I think the first time I went to Portland was huge because that was when I think both Ryan and Norm had huge strikes in the finals I think Ryan was a semifinal and Norm called his own number and they won a game with one of his strikes. And I remember that very much. And, I also got to call Norm's back-to-back wins in his 50s.
Wow.
When I remember he told Kimberly, "I'm not finished yet," and then the son of a gun wins 2 weeks in a row.
I think it was Indianapolis and Jonesboro.
Indianapolis and Jonesboro is absolutely correct, sir. We'll take bowling wins for 300, please. You did not form that in the form of a question.
Well, I tell you what I'm going to do, Dave. I'm going to offer you the best job in the world, and the pay is just out of here.
All right.
and that's for you to be the permanent announcer for Dog Tags Bowling Podcast.
Actually, what we need to do is we need to get a recording as an intro. And now from the Dog Tags Bowl.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Ask Michelle. We pay big bucks here at Dog Tags. So ask Michelle. So.
It's all
well,
love.
listen, if I can get a den that looks like that from the money you're paying, then yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, this was hard-earned money right here. I'm telling you, this was 4 years of a lot of push-ups and a lot of running to get to yell that a lot.
Oh, but yeah, David, it has been a blast. I've certainly enjoyed talking to you, whether we're sitting across the table in Wisconsin or in Indiana or wherever parts unknown, wherever we may be. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. We don't see each other often, but when we do, it seems like we spoke to each other yesterday.
Well, and I owe you guys a drink because that particular Sunday you saw me at the end there was not me at my physical best. So
yeah,
next time I do see you guys, I owe you.
Don't worry, we will collect.
Oh, I know.
I think it's the other way around, Deuce. Did we not say
I was going to say the same thing. I think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Well, we'll work it out. We'll work out the terms. But yeah, you caught me on a particularly difficult day after the show there, and I had to get back to my hotel to rest up. But I love talking with you guys. I love the passion you all have for the sport. Michelle, please give Ronnie my best. Hopefully I'll get to see him again.
I will. Thank you.
It'll be another year before I see everybody again.
Exactly.
But that night you were very gracious and you coming up and saying, hey, look, I just don't feel well, but listen, anytime we are around, you will be taken care of, sir, because we certainly
Well, not to be
everything you
too
do.
graphic for the audience, but like 4 minutes before we went on the air, I was in the bathroom. With some kind of food poisoning issue, which has almost never happened to me. And luckily, I thought about it later. Had we started the show at 3:30 or 3:45 even,
that'd have been some bad news.
It would have been during the show.
Wow.
Right.
And luckily for us, we had taped and open, and I was able to, relieve my problem and then be there at. It was actually one thing was pretty funny about it. Two things were actually funny. I can laugh at it now. Randy was in there with me, not at the same stall. But he was like, right. "Oh, not good," and I leave the bathroom and there's a guy in the crew waiting and he's got a headset on. He goes, "I have Dave. I'm walking like we have the president. The president is here.
The POTUS
has landed.
He's literally holding it like this. We've got Dave. Dave's he's walking out now. And here he is. And he's walking me through the curtain and getting me sure I get over
Oh my goodness." You poor guy.
Yes, exactly.
Poor Randy, though. Bless his heart. He was briefly. I traumatized him there for a couple of minutes.
They would have had to come to the crowd and got the reliever. I'd come up there and sat down.
Yeah.
You know what? Mike J is probably hoping that I get sick longer. But sorry about that, Mike. But I guess Mike J.
I know Mike.
So if that happens again, and we're there, you just tell them. You go get the moonshine, dude, and do some.
There you go. We got you. Just run up there and
I can wing it. I was like, hey, while we're here, we're getting started, and by God, we're not going to stop until we're finished.
I was so tired when I got back to the hotel, and I had to say goodbye to the crew because I didn't know when I would see him again. And I'm talking to a guy in the parking lot, and it was a short drive back to the hotel. And I got off the elevator, it's third floor. That's all it was, and I'm literally out of breath walking to my door. I was so wiped. So 12 hours in bed took care of that, thankfully, and obviously it was better to travel home the next day. But that was an unusual occurrence, to say the least, and the timing of it was very fortunate for me.
Sure.
Yeah, because they wanted to move the show up, and then we got to put it back. So yeah, it all worked out.
The soccer stuff ran long, which we were told was probably going to happen anyway. When we talked about this, we kind of knew 3:30 was a pipe dream.
Right.
So I think at 3:30 is when we taped our open.
I had a ton of people texting me saying, "Would these people stop talking about soccer and get the bowling on? Come on."
Yeah, we'll get somebody from Fox to show you the size of the check.
Exactly.
So before we go, last comment, Greg, right? Thank you for your time, Dave. We appreciate it a lot. Yes.
My pleasure, Greg. Anytime, y'all. Anytime.
All right, sir. So listen, we appreciate you, man. We thank you for all you do for the sport. Thank you for coming on and being with us tonight. I need to take your broadcasting class. I'm terrible at this. So,
Well, can you be on time? Because some of these kids, you know.
Oh, we're former military, man. We're on time.
We are
I
on
can
time.
count
We
on you
have to
guys.
be
That's
early.
right. I forgot about that. I can count on you guys. In
We're
0700,
going to
be
be
there.
early.
And let me do this before you go. If we're not on time and if we don't act right, this person right here will nail us to the floor. Okay. We had
She's
Kimberly
great.
on. We
She's
had
great.
Kimberly on, and it was boom, 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 boom. Last week's show was a recap of the U.S. Open, and we actually had a chance to do as Ducey said, this is just a freebie. It's a freelance. Yeah, and we were all over the place, and she was like, no.
In my defense, I was at a basketball game and muted the entire time. They
Pretty
wouldn't
much.
let me talk.
Right.
But it was very loud, so I mean, I understood.
Go back and watch, Dave, and see how we were that night versus tonight.
I don't know. I want to leave on a high note.
All right, Dave, appreciate you coming in, brother. We hope would love to have you again.
Cheers, anytime.
All right,
and,
Dave. So this
thank you
is
so much.
how we exit with our guests. I don't know. Wait before we go. So I was part of a movie called Gardens of Stone. It was filmed in Fort Myer, Virginia. And in the movie, James Caan and James Earl Jones have a toast in the NCO Club. The toast is, here's to us and those like us. Damn few.
There you go.
Thank you very much for being on, Dave. We greatly appreciate it.
Guys, anytime. I'll talk to you again.
Yep, you got our numbers,
Have a
so
good one.
we'll be in touch.
All right.
Yeah. Have a great night, sir. Thank you
Take
again.
care, y'all.
All right. Well, there's a lot of good stuff there. I mean, this guy, he's no slacker.
No,
I didn't realize he bowled.
I didn't realize he bowled.
That's pretty awesome. Because I wondered about that with. I'm going to assume that most people who announce a sport participate in the sport at some point in their life to have an interest in that.
Right.
But when I went back and read about him, seeing that he did football, did basketball, did baseball, had done all of these things, I'm like, surely he didn't participate in all of these. I mean, maybe as an adolescent, but he himself said that he was the world's worst child athlete, sports player. So how does one, I mean, I know anyone in their respective channel of profession can know all the things about that said profession, but he has to know all the things about every single one of these sports and sports history. And
and when
that blows my mind, the knowledge that man probably holds is
it was really cool that when Gary and I were talking to him at the table at the U.S. Open, we started talking about it. And he goes, yes, I know basketball. Yes, I know football. Yes, I know baseball. I know all these sports. I know the nuances in and out. But one of the coolest things about it was when I started doing a broadcast with Chris Barnes, people talk about rotation and axis and PAP and the lanes drying down. And he's like, holy crap, this is so technical. This is so much more than I ever thought. He like, I need to become an expert at this. And then he went back and studied it. So
that's really awesome.
Really,
and
it was
then
really cool to hear that story.
Then he said at what, 17? He sat down and wrote
11.
11.
Typed out.
It's incredible.
The basic, here's the problem with this is a problem with your broadcasters right here.
It's people like him that I wish we had more of in the sport.
Yes.
That would, because I mean, we all know bowling is so technical. It's technical on so many forums, science, physics, mental, physical. There's so many facets to it that not everyone wants to take the time to learn it and appreciate it. And it's people like him that we truly need more of, being ambassadors for the sport, speaking about the sport, participating in the sport. So even your regular open play bowler gets the idea that there's far more to it than just throwing a ball down the lane. Right. I mean, it's like me, I joke about golf. You're chasing a ball around a field with a stick, but I know there's so much more science and physics and do it than I cannot do it. So
All right.
I appreciate. I'm a fan of golf. I love watching Ronnie play. I cannot do it.
Yeah, I don't
They're
think
so-
Ronald would. Yeah, I don't think he would
so
agree with
similar.
you. Yeah, Ronnie be
He
like,
doesn't. He laughs at me every time. I'm the one that rides the golf cart, and I go out in my bare feet
Sure.
because I grew up in the sticks. I like being barefoot.
"This is the sticks.
Did you
I
just
live in the
judge me?
sticks."
You have no
I live
idea
in the
where I grew up
sticks.
in southern Indiana. It is down in the sticks.
Okay, population, Southern Indiana, where you grew up. I
There
better
was
get-
more people on my college campus than in my hometown.
All right, how many?
And I went to Vincent's,
Give me a
which
number.
is small,
Give me a number.
like 5,000 or less, I think.
Oh, okay.
My house was in a cornfield.
My wife grew up in a town of 1,800 people. Actually,
Wow.
Like 1,300.
And
That
so
was
our county is Du Bois County. It was just a square, and there was basically three main towns. There's Ferdinand over here, there's Huntingburg here, and then there's Jasper. There was one Walmart in the whole entire county.
Wow.
I mean, there is nothing. It is just
Yep.
hills and farmland.
Yep, nothing wrong with that.
Well, let me do this before we sign off because we need to talk about a couple of things. Let me put this up. Another great episode. Phone's
Johnny.
about to die. Got to bounce.
Johnny, good to see you, bro.
Yeah. Glad you tune
Super
in and
fan.
rewatching this week. Okay. So
Hey, we'll get together and bowl. He couldn't come with us and bowl at what we went to Metro West or something like that. But we need to go bowl with that kid. That kid's pretty darn cool.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, and here is a suggestion for you, Michelle.
I'll
Josh
write it
Blanchard
down.
Josh Blanchard
Ooh.
would be a great guest.
I work with his wife.
There you go. There you go. All right. So we did our toast. So we will get out of here. Thanks to everybody that tuned in. Thanks for everybody that's going to rewatch the show. Thanks for
Yes.
everybody that's going to watch it for the first time later on.
And for those that are watching or going to watch, please share it on your social media. Share it out with
Right.
other people. Give us a like. Give us a
Yes.
subscribe. It doesn't do anything for us right now. We're just trying to share it and get more stuff out there and let more people see it.
And we have huge news coming, hopefully Friday.
Okay, cool.
Wow. Wow. So maybe we can talk about that next week's show.
I'm hoping so.
Exactly. So before we go, let's talk about a couple of things. Number one, thank you to Eileen's Bowling Buddy. She is Sandy's a big sponsor and supporter of what we do, so we couldn't do it without her. And let's thank the folks at Bowler X.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you for wanting to come and be a part of our little thing we call Dog Tags Bowling, just to support the sport and vets as well. So big news coming in the future about tournaments. So we're trying to work on that. We got a couple of things that we're going to talk about after the show. So, thank you guys. Thank you for everyone who's following us on Facebook. My goodness, we're at 1408, I think, as of today, maybe more. 1,300 on Instagram. So thank you for that. We got to build up our Twitter X and our TikTok. So if you see us on any of this stuff, share, like, all this. And thank you to Ducey's buddy, Joel.
Joel Iceman.
Yes. I mean, he is looking forward, I think, coming on the show. Possibly.
Yeah, he's supposed to be in March. I haven't confirmed the date yet, but we should have Joel in March.
And
yeah,
he
and
is
I
going.
would tell people, if you're watching and you see us out at a tournament somewhere, we're just walking up down, say, "Hey, Dog Tags Bowling, come talk to me."
Exactly.
Wave us down.
Exactly.
Wave us down. We'll come talk to you.
And
We'll
Joel
sign
is going.
autographs. It's fine.
No, I won't. No, I won't.
Oh,
Well, Joel is going to simulcast on his
nice.
TikTok page
Nice.
when he comes on with us. So we will actually be on his TikTok page live, and he's going to do that to help build up the TikTok side so that we can do live events like he's doing.
Right.
I watch him every day at lunch. He's drilling bowling balls.
Mhm.
He's been drilling what, Michelle? 15 years?
15
or so?
years?
Yeah. Is that right, Deuce? Something other like
Yep.
that?
Yep.
And he's even mentioned on there about your buddy Jerry. Is that correct?
Jerry Mars. Yep. Jerry Mars.
Yeah. Yeah. He said, hey, me and Jerry Mars to take on anybody at Dog Tags Bowling.
Oh, they
Name,
would.
date, place, and time.
They would have to spot us some pins. They'd have to take on me and Jason. They're going to give us pins.
I hear you.
Actually, no. You know what? I will bowl them straight up, but they have to drink as much as I drink at the same time.
I hear you.
I'd crush them.
I understand. All right. So with that, thank you guys, and thanks for everybody who sponsors and support, and thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, may the good Lord look over our brothers and sisters both here and far. Okay.
Absolutely.
Until next week, be watching what Michelle's putting on. She's trying some new things.
Jason Couch next week.
Yeah, Hall of Famer Jason Couch next week. That is fantastic.
Exactly. And Michelle's got a new little thing she's playing with called Munch, and she puts together these little bitty excerpts. So let's go tell them what this one's going to be. I don't know. Maybe have something to do about Dave and Randy being in the bathroom. I don't know.
It might.
I
might.
totally was
You
going to
never
say
know.
that. Sharing a stall. They're going to cut out not. And to say we were not sharing.
Exactly.
Sharing a stall. Randy.
All right, so we'll leave you guys with that thought. We'll see you next week, and watch out for what Michelle puts on this week. And you guys take care, and I'll see you guys after we hit the end stream. Okay.
Perfect.
Be safe, y'all.
Everybody take care.